Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Power-packed show over the next 30 minutes, but first let's get straight to the top story this evening. 2 weeks after the mega 12,700 crore rupee fraud came to light at Punjab National Bank, there have been rapid developments in the case. The cabinet today paved the way for the introduction of the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill to be introduced in the second leg of the budget session. The new bill aims to avoid willful defaulters like Vijay Mallya and alleged fraudsters like Nirav Modi from fleeing the country. The draft bill provides for confiscation of assets in cases without conviction in cases where economic offenders have fled the country without paying the lender. The provisions of the bill will apply to individuals who have defaulted on loans over 100 crore rupees and against whom an arrest warrant has been issued.
We will try and make sure that this is passed as expeditiously as possible, because we can't allow people to make a mockery of the law, that you first indulge in loot and then refuse to submit to the jurisdiction of our legal system. And I think we have a very responsible parliament. It can't come to the aid of such people. It will certainly be doing something which is hostile to the interest of these people.
This bill does not aim at getting the fugitive back with the cooperation. That's the extradition part.
Yeah, but the confiscation of his properties abroad.
The way this bill works is that if you confiscate his property in India and abroad, then there are good chances that the fugitive will come back to India. Least, if you can't get that person here, then get his property. So that is what this bill seeks to achieve, and it will definitely put pressure and force the fugitive to come.
That's not all. The cabinet also gave its nod to the draft rules to establish a new authority to oversee auditing and accounting standards. Now, the National Finance Reporting Authority will be the new mechanism to strengthen the financial system where loopholes have allowed for massive frauds to go completely unnoticed. The NFRA will be headed by a chairman and will comprise of up to 15 members. It will cover all listed companies and large unlisted ones as well. The rules for the NFRA will be notified soon and will detail the jurisdiction the NFRA will have over large unlisted companies. The auditing of other small companies will continue to be the responsibility of the ICAI or the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India.
NAFRA is not intended to replace the disciplinary jurisdiction of an Institute of Chartered Accountants. That is not the intention.
Yes, madam.
Therefore, for all the regular routine cases, which will be bulk of the cases with regard to smaller businesses, I think the Institute of Chartered Accountants will continue to perform its function.
See, now after the cabinet approval, we will be in a position to commence this section 132,
Right, sir.
which speaks about establishment of NAFRA.
Right.
So the National Financial Reporting Authority will come into force as soon as the notification is issued and the underlying rules are notified,
Right.
which should take about a fortnight.
Right. One thing which was curious for us was that A, listed companies will be covered, and B, unlisted companies, there will be a threshold. Now, how does NFRA then get into an investigation, or how does NFRA then start investigating these companies? What will be the trigger?
You see, even now under the ICAI, under the Chartered Accountant Act, you have a quality review board.
Right.
They precisely do this same activity of looking at the quality of financial reporting of firms. So when NAFRA is constituted and it has this constituency of listed companies and large unlisted companies, it can, through some sort of random sampling or some other method, decide which companies' balance sheets and financial statements it wishes to review.
Okay, from one big story, let's get to the other one. There's no bail for Karti Chidambaram just yet. The special court today ruled in favor of the CBI in the INX media case, remanding him to police custody till the 6th of March. Remember, Karti Chidambaram was arrested yesterday and has been accused of taking bribes to influence a government decision when his father, P. Chidambaram, was the finance minister in 2007. Ashmit Kumar, who has been tracking this case very closely and has been in court as well, is here with the details. Ashmit, take us to what transpired in court and, what seems to be the outlook now as far as Karti's future is concerned?
Well, dark clouds as far as the Karti Chidambaram is concerned. He was seeking bail. He's been granted 5 days police custody with the CBI. As far as what happened in the courtroom, it was interesting. First one to walk in was, in fact, the additional Solicitor General, Tushar Mehta. He is the one replacing the prosecutor, arguing for the CBI. So the CBI taking out the big guns. Representing Karti Chidambaram was Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Also present in court was P. Chidambaram himself. He walked in a little late, but he walked in nonetheless, as well as Nalini Chidambaram. So the entire family was there. The proceedings lasted about a good 3-4 hours. We had the CBI was first off the ground. CBI argued that there is a case that is in fact made out for custodial interrogation, that there are many unanswered questions, that Karti Chidambaram so far has been very evasive, and that to address those questions, to address those anomalies, to address the evidences that they found, it's critical that there be some custodial interrogation. That was the sum and substance of the CBI's position. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, appearing for Karti Chidambaram, argued that this is most bizarre. The arrest is most bizarre. It's an extreme exercise of power. Abhishek Manu Singhvi also went on to argue that this case is in fact a case of vindictive politics, that Karti Chidambaram has been cooperating, did in fact comply with both the summons that were issued by the CBI as well as by the ED, and there is no change in status quo. He's not a flight risk, and hence no case for an arrest or in fact a police custody can be made out. After hearing both the sides, we understand that the court has now held that there is indeed a case for custodial interrogation, has granted 5 days to the CBI to interrogate Karti Chidambaram, and that he will have to come back to the court on March 6th, and that's perhaps we can get more clues going forward. For now, Karti Chidambaram looks good to spend this holy weekend with the CBI.
Okay, fair enough. That's going to be an eventful one. That's a story, of course, we will be tracking all through the next few days. But here's another developing story. The crackdown by agencies in the PNB fraud case continues. The Enforcement Directorate has attached 41 properties belonging to Mehul Choksi under the PMLA. These properties are valued at a reported figure of over 1,200 crore rupees. The attached properties include 15 flats, 17 office premises in Mumbai, a mall in Kolkata, a 4-acre farmhouse in Alibag, and 231 acres of land at various other locations. Separately, we learned that Nirav Modi has been writing to officials using a virtual private network or VPN in order to hide his location. To understand these developments further, let's go across to our reporter Utkarsha Trivedi, who has been tracking these stories very, very closely. Utkarsha, you were at the ED all day today. The ED is now cracking down hard on Mehul Choksi and Nirav Modi. Some concrete developments coming in there. But take us first through what Nirav Modi has communicated to PNB to settle dues.
So 3 major events happening today when it comes to the developments in the PNB case. Now the first one being Nirav Modi writing a letter to PNB expressing his interest to pay back the money, and what he is really speaking about is the 2,000 crore rupees which he has as a form of jewelry. He also spoke about some current bank account which has somewhere around 200 crore rupees, and immovable properties about 50 crore rupees. So this is the fresh offer of Nirav Modi towards the Punjab National Bank. Of course, this is after Punjab National Bank wrote a letter to Nirav Modi in the response of the first letter he wrote to him. Secondly, speaking about today, Enforcement Directorate went ahead and attached properties worth 1,200 crore rupees of Mehul Choksi. Remember, it was Monday that we told our viewers that the ED has really identified properties of both Mehul Choksi and Nirav Modi, and will start attaching all of them in a day or two. And lastly, what happened at the Enforcement Directorate office in Mumbai is that from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, the MD of PNB, Sunil Mehta, was being questioned. It was a 6-hour questioning of the current PNB MD. What we are picking up is that the former PNB MDs can also be called for questioning. Remember that the ED has already questioned KV Brahmaji Rao, who's the ED Finance, and CBI has already questioned KV Brahmaji Rao, also the PNB MD and the former PNB MDs as well. So clearly, ED, CBI both broadening the case. Now we have been saying from the first day that both our sources in ED and CBI do not believe that it is the two people, the two major accused which were a part of the FIR have done that. And now you see already 14 arrests by CBI and Enforcement Directorate. CBI now really looking at the big guns and the top-notch officials to really crack down on this case.
Okay, Utkarsh, thanks for breaking that up in detail for us. But the government is moving to rationalize operations of public sector banks overseas. And that's the big story from North Block. The centre announced that it will consolidate operations at 35 overseas branches of state-run banks, and another 69 foreign offices are still under review. And that's not all. Over 200 operations of PSU banks overseas will be examined, and unviable operations will be shut down. That's something that our reporter Sapna Das has picked up. We will take a very short break though. On that note, on the other side, Cipla CEO Umang Bora, in an exclusive interaction, here's what he had to say.
In no part is up for sale.
Cipla says that pharma giant is aggressively looking for acquisitions. That conversation when we return. And the government is all set to ensure stronger regulations for ultrasound and imaging equipment aimed at monitoring quality. Special discussion with our in-house expert on the other side. Back yesterday with what's hot on CNBC TV18. Now let's get to a special story. The government is all set to ensure stronger regulations for ultrasound and imaging equipment. It will now be brought under Drugs and Cosmetics Act. The government will basically regulate import, manufacturing and sales of these equipments. The move is aimed at monitoring quality and avoiding use of these machines for sex selection. Joining us now to discuss this further is our healthcare reporter, Archana Shukla, and along with her is Rajiv Nath, Forum Coordinator at Association of Indian Medical Device Industry. Archana, over to you.
Thanks, Ritika. And thank you, Mr. Nath, for joining us here on CNBC TV18. First up, this regulation, what is the market size that it would, bring under regulation right now when we are talking overall about medical imaging equipments?
Medical imaging is a very vast field which covers ultrasound, X-ray, CT scan, MRI, endoscopes, linear accelerators. So we estimate the market size to be about over 15,000 crore rupees.
And in your assessment, what percentage of this market was actually unregulated and unregistered till now that the government is trying to bring under regulation?
Well, the market basically, I've got two kinds of imaging. One is based on radiation and one is non-radiation. So the ones under radiation are already being regulated through AERB, the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. And now the government is trying to regulate all of these from the point of view of not only radiation, but from the point of view of patient safety under the Drug and Cosmetics Act.
Right.
That's what's been passed. And the whole industry from the point of view of the patient safety is completely unregulated as on today's date.
Right. The prime
100%.
reason behind this regulation is to avoid use of ultrasounds and CT scanner machines for sex selection. And we are a sex-skewed nation, so to say. But how effective do you think these regulations would be in the current scenario?
Well, the Drugs and Cosmetics Act is designed from the point of view of seeing that patients are not harmed. So it's mainly patient safety that's a purview. In terms of placement, sales, access, there would be challenges which the government would have to definitely address, for which the current system is not really designed for.
A lot of ultrasound machines are now mobile, are very mobile, are very small in size. Would this, I'm just trying to understand, would this regulation be really helpful? It's a good move certainly by the government, but will it really be helpful in curtailing the use of these equipments for said purposes of sex selection and others?
Well, of course, when you've got a social cost like that, something has to be done to address that. And this is one way forward trying to achieve that. It may not be the best way, but something better than nothing, I guess.
Okay.
So, and still the government, of course, has to address the issue of the parallel imports which come in of pre-owned equipment, which is also coming in substantially. Nearly 30% of the value of the goods coming in currently are pre-owned, second-hand goods coming in. So regulations will definitely help to curb that, restrict that, and once there is a control over the warehousing, the sales, the resales, the servicing, I guess some kind of of that objective will be achieved. May not be 100%, but maybe in the right direction. But a bigger concern for us is not only this issue of the social cause, for which it is being pursued, but we've been demanding from the industry that we do need regulations, but of the right kind.
Mm-hmm.
The
in
current
that sense,
ERB regulations are very much skewed from the point of view of imports. You've got, sorry, please go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, so the current ERB regulations give import clearances for imports in about a month's time, whereas an Indian manufacturer has to take nearly about a year's time to get himself currently registered through an ARB regulatory process. And the DNC Act has now, of course, the medical device rules which can be used to regulate. But these are still very new in infancy, and the process and the systems are still being unfolded. And maybe the Medical Device Act would be the better position for doing all this. But since that is not even a bill that has been tabled to the Parliament, we have been recommending to the government to cover such medical electronics and devices under the BIS rules, whereby the quality management systems of these companies could be certified by accredited certification bodies.
Okay,
and the accreditation is given by NABCB.
All right. Just as a last question, sir, we still are a little way away from the Medical Devices Act, so to say, and you're saying the Drugs and Cosmetics Act is not really the best model, but even here, item by item, the government is increasing regulation. What are the other segments of medical devices that you feel would be coming under regulation right now going forward?
Well, in medical electronics alone, we've given a list of about 32 items for the government to consider. You've got the high-risk items like pacemakers, ultrasound machines is only one part of it, but you've got heart-lung machines, infusion pumps, you've got consumer goods, whether it is a glucometer or a thermometer, none of this is regulated. So it's a large basket. And nearly 90% of the goods which are coming to the country are coming into an environment which is totally unregulated, and that's very much scary because you have no calibration for such medical electronic goods coming into the country.
All right.
Mr. Nath, a very one-line answer from you, sir. Would the any concerns with respect to the implementation? Would it be cumbersome once it goes ahead? Very tight on time, so one-line answer.
Yes. It will be cumbersome the way it's currently going on.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for taking us through that. And thank you, Archana, for taking us through that exclusive conversation. We are actually going to get to another exclusive interview by Archana. The phase of uncertainty surrounding Cipla is over. That's the word from the CEO of Cipla, Umang Vohra. He caught up exclusively with Archana and said that the pharma giant is always on the prowl for acquisition. He also made some important clarifications on Cipla being in the market to only to not look at being on sale, but being in the market for only acquisitions. Take a look.
Now in terms of assessment for growing your scale in the US, would you look at more acquisitions? There are more, global assets that are coming on the block right now. Sandoz has, spoken. There are some more assets that Teva could hive off. Would you still be in the market for looking, and if you are already looking at something?
We will always look. But if you were to ask me whether our capital allocation would be more towards generic, and that ticks the one, I think US generics less. Emerging market generics, which are deep market pools like China and Brazil, yes, we tick that box. Specialty as a new area, whether we'd spend more money into specialty, for sure, yes.
Would there be some, assets within Cipla that you would want to divest? Would that also be on the mind when you're looking at charting this, the consolidation of your business, where you have looked at divesting a few of your emerging markets assets? Does India feature somewhere? Is there something that you think doesn't work for Cipla? In Cipla, which you would...
So I think we've done quite a few. We've done our vet business, we divested that. And a couple of these portfolios in other countries, Croatia, etc. We've sold all of that. So all that's done. Would we like to divest any part of our business? Not sure. If we do a really huge deal in Cipla that transforms Cipla for the future, and the likelihood of that is low, Could we use one of our businesses as, as a means of raising some amount of cash? For example, could we think of our India business or our South Africa business in a different manner, right? Yes. But we will never sell them.
Okay.
So we'll never be sellers for any of our businesses. We might use them to bring in capital, but never to sell them. But I don't think it's going to be the core markets. At this point in time, Cipla in no part is up for sale, right? So Cipla's done away with what it needed to, and right now it's in a mood to consolidate.
And buy more.
And buy more.
In the US market also.
In the US specialty side, yes.
Important clarification there, Cipla not on the block, in fact in the market for acquisitions. Now in a Network 18 exclusive interview, India's former cricket captain Nirav Ganguly talks about Virat Kohli and Mahendra Singh Dhoni's captaincy. In fact, Saurav is expressive while Dhoni is calm, but different captains have different ways of handling stress. He says that the country's cricket team is fortunate to have both.
What is the difference that you see in Kohli's captaincy and Dhoni's captaincy with respect to yours?
I think two different personalities. Kohli is very expressive.
And so are you.
I was, yes. Kohli's taken it probably one step further. I need to ask him that who does he show the fist every time a wicket falls? I have to find that out from him. Dhoni was calm. That doesn't take the nervousness and pressure away from anyone. For Virat Kohli, that was his way of taking pressure out. For me, it was. For Dhoni, it was to absorb. So different captains are different, and I think India is fortunate enough to have Dhoni and Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli is in the form of his life, I think. The way he's played, the best player in the world at the moment. And when I see Virat on the field, obviously you don't get to see him that much. Meet with him closely because they're traveling all the time, and you get to see them on and off. I see a lot of honesty, and it's you get what you see. There's everything is there, and plus he's a class player.
Yeah.
So I think I've got tremendous regard for him and tremendous faith in him that he's actually going to take Indian cricket to the next level.
That's quite a vote of confidence with Saurav Ganguly saying that Virat Kohli at this point in time is the best cricketer in the world. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of What's Up. Thank you very much for watching. The truncated trading week ends with further losses, and the Lal Street Nifty closes just above the 10,450 mark, and Sensex managing to hold on to 34,000. We will take you through this week and today's market action only on Taking Stock coming up next, and we will be back with India Business Hour in 30 minutes with the top stories of the day. Don't go anywhere.